Goblin Tales of Lancashire by James Bowker, narrated by Malc Cowle. The Captured Fairies. There once lived in the little village of Autumn two idle, good-for-nothing fellows who, somehow or other, managed to exist without spending the day from morn to dewy eve at the loom. When their more respectable neighbours were hard at work, they generally were to be seen either hanging about the doorway of the little alehouse or playing at dominoes inside the old-fashioned hostelry, and many a time in broad daylight their lusty voices might be heard as they trolled forth the hearty poaching ditty, "It's my delight on a shiny night." It was understood that they had reason to sympathise with the sentiments expressed in the old ballad. Each was followed by a ragged, suspicious-looking lurcher, and as the four lounged about the place, steady-going people shook their heads and prophesied all sorts of unpleasant terminations to so unsatisfactory a career. So far as the dogs were concerned, the dismal forebodings were verified, for, from poaching in the society of their masters, the clever lurchers took to doing a little on their own account, and both were shot in the pursuit of game by keepers who were only too glad of an opportunity of ridding the neighbourhood of such misdirected intelligence. Soon after this unfortunate event, the two men, who themselves had a narrow escape, had their nets taken, and, as they were too poor to purchase others, and going about to borrow such articles was equivalent to accusing their friends of poaching habits, they were reduced to the necessity of using sacks whenever they visited the squire's fields. One night, after climbing the fence and making their way to a well-stocked warren, they put in a solitary ferret and rapidly fixed the sacks over the burrows. They did not wait long in anxious expectation of an exodus before there was a frantic rush, and after hastily grasping the sacks tightly round the necks and tempting their missionary from the hole, they crept through the hedgerow, and, at a sharp pace, started for home. For some time they remained unaware of the nature of their load, and they were congratulating themselves upon the success which had crowned their industry, when suddenly there came a cry from one of the prisoners, "Dick, where's Tartar?" The poachers stood petrified with alarm, and almost immediately a voice from the other bag piped out, "In sack, on a back, riding up Autumn Brow." The terrified men at once let their loads fall, and fled at the top of their speed, leaving behind them the bags full of fairies, who had been driven from their homes by the intruding ferret. Next morning, however, the two poachers ventured to the spot where they had heard the supernatural voices. The sacks, neatly folded, were lying at the side of the road, and the men took them up very tenderly, as though in expectation of another mysterious utterance, and crept off with them. Need it be said that those bags were not afterwards used for any purpose more exciting than the carriage of potatoes from the previously neglected bit of garden, the adventure having quite cured the men of any desire to pick up rabbits. Like most sudden conversions, however, that of the two poachers into hard-working weavers was regarded with suspicion by the inhabitants of the old-world village, and in self-defence the wastrels were forced to tell the story of the imprisonment of the fairies. The wonderful narrative soon got noised abroad, and as the changed characters, on many a summer evening afterwards, sat hard at work in their loom-house, and perhaps almost instinctively hummed the old ditty, "It's my delight on a shiny night," the shock head of a lad would be protruded through the honeysuckle, which almost covered the casement, as the grinning youngster, who had been patiently waiting for the weaver to commence his song, and give an opportunity for the oft-repeated repartee, cried, "Nay, it isn't thy delight, Dick, where's Arter?"